Hey everybody, and welcome back to Swept Media here at the convergence of AI and Web3. Today and the rest of this week, and probably next week as well, because there's a lot of research that I'm doing on this topic, we are going to be talking about the differences in the way that conglomerates and national governments are building or implementing AI technology across countries or within their internal operations, and how that starkly contrasts with the way that the Web3 space is building AI technology. And of course, how we're using it. I mean, I can tell you right off the bat that one thing Microsoft and the OECD are not doing is building AI agents for trading cryptocurrency. Okay, that's not happening. On the other hand, I can tell you that in the Web3 space, you will not find a Web3 project. On the other hand, I can tell you that in the Web3 space, you will not find a builder, a project that is perfectly aligned with what either of those, either the OCD or Microsoft or any of their ilk, really care about, or at least ostensibly care about. So that brings us to really what is it about? Where does this contrast begin? And this is where I'll begin to open up some of the research that I've done on this, and there will be a lot of content on this. Hopefully, I can get a bunch of interviews. I've already got a few set up with some people across the industry, and hopefully, I can get some lawmakers involved in this to let me know what it is they want, what it is the Web3 space is building for, and really what the Web3 space is most likely to have to do in the long term future in order to be a viable option for mass adoption. This thing that everyone is always talking about, has always been talking about in blockchain since Bitcoin was made, mass adoption. We know that AI technology is not going anywhere. There will be AI applications built and used by people just the same way that everyone is using the internet now. You're watching this video on the internet. AI technology is going to be that ubiquitous. But how we use it is what's going to be determined over the next decade or so. So what is being built today is going to conform to, or rather, the way that people use AI technology in 10 years is going to conform to the way that things are built today. Just like TCP/IP, we still use that because it's a critical piece of infrastructure that makes sense. What is being built now that will make sense in 10 years for people, for probably you and I? And is it coming from Web3, or are there changes that need to be made? I think my hypothesis here is that Web3 AI is novel, just like everything in the space is novel, but only one or maybe two real use cases for Web3 AI will emerge in the mainstream. And they are probably not going to be the ones you think they are, because the values of the national governments and the conglomerates vary so greatly from what is in Web3 that they will make it unadoptable on a mass basis. So let's get into some of these examples that I found so far. The first one coming from Microsoft. This is their responsible AI standard. So internally, this is how they are approaching implementing AI across their organization.
There are so many thorny challenges when it comes to developing and deploying AI systems responsibly. For example,
Thorny challenges. I mean, deploying AI responsibly, I don't really totally understand even what that means. It sounds like in their case, responsibly means getting you to do exactly what they want to do.
AI has the potential to exacerbate existing societal inequities and even to create new ones.
So, what does AI have to do with societal inequities, social inequality in general? I don't know. I think that's something that I will get to the bottom of at the end of this little project.
Researchers are at the forefront of uncovering and understanding these challenges, so incorporating their perspectives into the standard was essential.
Okay, so that's what Microsoft's responsible AI deployment and implementation strategy is backed by, trying to ensure that it doesn't exacerbate societal inequalities and create new ones. Let's see what the OECD is doing with their AI policy. And this is an overview of I guess they made a website and a dashboard to explain, or rather for people to see how AI is being implemented across the globe.
Acids to help policymakers, AI practitioners, and all stakeholders worldwide gain valuable insights into the risks and harms of AI systems. The catalogue of tools and metrics helps AI actors develop and use trustworthy AI systems and...
What are trustworthy AI systems? I haven't found an answer to that one either, because there isn't really a great one available. But what I think it means in this case is trustworthy AI are the ones the OECD say are trustworthy.
Applications that respect human rights and are fair, transparent, explainable, robust, secure, and safe.
So fair, robust, executable, safe, those are all really great qualities to have in technology. Equitable, however, I don't know how that factors in. Now, contrast this with what Web3 projects, Web3 AI projects are prioritizing when it comes to AI. So decentralized AI is focusing on property rights, like Yatsu is always talking about property rights. In the case of BitTensor, there's no mention of equity, social inequalities, social inequities. There is security, but not safety. And it is assumed that BitTensor is robust. So where would we find something like that? Incentives, yes, there's an incentive model. One thing that's shared across all of these decentralized AI, these Web3 AI platforms is an economic factor. We know they all have tokens. They sometimes provide you with wealth and riches, and other times you get completely wrecked. We know that by now. So that is what these decentralized platforms are focusing on, an economic incentive to level the playing field. That it doesn't necessarily matter who you are or where you're from or any of those things. Those are not considerations. They're not even mentioned in their white papers because it's an irrelevant factor. Instead, they're focusing on anyone is open to these economic incentives. How about for collusion against cabal? So yeah, equality in the sense that, and safety in the sense of not letting people collude and making sure everyone has access to the platforms. Let's see what Sahara AI has to say about governance. So they are talking about decentralized and community driven. Again, what community? Who has access to this community? If it's decentralized, then everybody, regardless of where they're from or who they are. Decisions are made by the DAO, and the foundation supports the initial setup, but presumably they will take a step back later on. How about Near? Near is one of the biggest Web3 AI projects. They have over $1 billion in market cap. So what do they have to say about social inequality? Or more importantly, what are the guiding principles of why Near exists? An economic element, other elements, digital assets, that's of course cryptocurrency, and I guess you could consider that an economic element, technical infrastructure, apps, cloud of community operated nodes, again, decentralization, doesn't matter who you are or where you're from, permissionless interface, anyone can use their interface. So these like equalities are baked into Web3. However, there's not the type of quote unquote safety and security that the national governments might want to see, at least so far, from what I can tell. And another one's Story. These are most likely the projects that I'll be focusing on for this project, with a few others mentioned here and there. How about in conclusion? Universal IP repository. Again, if you create something, you can use Story. Is there going to be censorship over what type of IP is included on Story? I don't know. Most likely not, but that would be up to the protocol operators, the validators, to make that decision. And by the way, Story protocol is interesting because they have an AI agent as a validator already. So I'm curious to see if there will actually be any censorship from that validator. So this is what this project is about, comparing and contrasting, but also with the hypothesis that uh, Web3 projects are not going to be universally adoptable, and they will have a limited, very limited use case unless there's more conformity to the norm. That doesn't necessarily mean I disagree with what they're doing, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with how the OECD or other major multinational conglomerates are building and implementing AI. It's not that at all. I'm just looking at the field that I'm just looking at the field that is in front of us, okay, and understanding that where the power is and where it is likely to be in the next 10 to 15 years.